Hi, this is Joshua Pruett, and you're listening to the FSF podcast.
Hello, guys, and welcome to the FSF podcast, the show made by nerds for nerds. And our guest today is the only person brave enough to be willing to come back for a third visit. We've had a couple make the second trip, but this one was brave enough because, the last time we didn't do our research very well, and he had some pretty new, cool award-style hardware. I mean, like an Emmy, an Emmy for Phineas and Ferb, Candace Against the Universe. Now he's also a New York Times best-selling author, and as far as I know, is still the only person to have written for both Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Doctor Who. So at this point, let's stop wasting time and welcome back Joshua Pruett for round 3.
Hi, gang. Hey, Tim. Hey, Kathleen.
Hello. Emmy Award winner and New York Times bestseller. Dude.
Ooh, and last week, 2 weeks ago, USA Today.
Hey!
That's right. I saw that. Yeah, you made that list too.
It's great. It's crazy time. Crazy.
Yeah, your book
very,
is
very
blowing
grateful.
up right now. This is
yeah,
awesome.
Very, very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about it, because that was going to be my first thing out of the gate.
Oh,
was
good.
I wanted to talk about your book. And because you've been posting a lot about it, and rightly so. You mentioned the New York Times, you mentioned the USA Today.
Yeah.
And I think on the New York Times, was it 6th or 7th in the top 10?
It was 10th.
Oh, it was 10th. Okay.
And on book one, we just barely broke in at 15.
Nice.
So, we're moving up in the world.
That's fantastic. So, so you're in the New York Times bestseller list with a book called The Last Comic on Earth, Too Many Villains.
That's right.
Take a moment and tell our listeners about the book, where they can find it, why they should be reading it, and why they should help it move up the bestseller list.
And they should. This is the first official spinoff of the Last Kids on Earth series, written by Max Brallier and illustrated by Doug Holgate. So there was an animated series that was based on that book series that I had the pleasure to work on, and that's when I met Max, and we really hit it off. Essentially Max and Doug were building Evil Dead for kids, and that was way up my alley. And Scott Peterson, my co-writer on Shipwreckers, he was the showrunner and brought me on board the animated series, which is on Netflix. And Max and I hit it off. And when there was an opportunity to spin off The Last Kids, he asked me on board, which was an absolute privilege. And so the thing that we built, which was, in the world of The Last Kids on Earth, they are literally the last kids on Earth in the town of Wakefield, and they have to defend Earth from monsters, zombies, interdimensional demons, the whole gamut. And what Max and I realized is that meant that there were not any more comics being made. There's lots of things that aren't happening anymore in the apocalypse, but we figured, because it's established in both the animated series and in the proper book series, there is a shop called Comically Speaking where the kids go to read their comics. And at some point, they would get to the end of what might be their favorite comic book series and realize there aren't any more being made. And so they do what any kid would do. They make their own. And so they invent heroes, they invent new personas for themselves, and ostensibly
cool.
They are writing and drawing this comic book series in the last comics on Earth. So we are, book one established all of our heroes and their alternate personas, their superhero personas, and now book two, we're getting to kind of expand on that world.
That is very cool. I love the premise.
Oh, thanks. It was super fun. It felt like, Max and I, reaching back to our 10-year-old selves and giving each other a high five and a comic book and some candy and going, dude, let's throw a party. And everybody's, all right, let's do it. Let's make a comic,
Nice. Yeah, because,
sorry.
Go ahead. No,
I
go
saw
ahead.
that you had posted that you had 2 books on the shelf at Target. So it's available at Target?
It was book one and book two. Yeah. So, both of them are currently on shelves at Target, which is absolute dream come true. Not something that I would have imagined ever happening. So, had to document that for sure.
Did you go through and just sneaky sign some of them too?
I didn't, because I feel like if it's not a bookstore environment, I'm not sure that they're going to take kindly to that because I feel like at a bookstore, at least they could put like a little sticker on it, so it's not
Right.
like it was just damaged by some random customer who decided that they should sign this book.
Yeah, Target might
I
have a
have
problem with
thought
that.
about it, Kathleen, but
That's more of a Barnes and Noble type thing.
a little bit, yeah. And like, I think also part of my comfort level is I used to work at Bookstar before it was bought out, became Barnes and Noble, and so like I understand the protocol of when people come in and sign stuff, so I'm a little more comfortable doing that.
That makes sense.
But I know
I
like
can just-
Neil Gaiman will like sign stuff at like the airport, like the airport bookstore, and he just does it surreptitiously. But I'm not Neil Gaiman; he can do that.
Oh, you're cooler than Neil Gaiman.
No.
I think it would be funny though for you to try and do it at Target, because I'm pretty sure somebody in a red polo and a pair of khakis is going to take umbrage to it.
Yes. You cut to a wide shot and it's me just getting jumped by a guy in a red shirt and khakis. Boom.
I don't know.
Sign our book.
If the
Somebody
targets
plays high
around
school
here,
linebacker,
if the targets around here are like the one near me, it's going to be some acne-ridden teenager.
Yes. But tall, Kathleen. Tall and
true.
gangly.
Oh,
right?
I can't fight back.
Don't make me run. I have to get out my inhaler.
Well, talking about book signings, you
Yes.
actually have done a couple of recently, and you're doing.
Yes.
You've been at cons, including StokerCon, which you went to, which I didn't know anything about until I saw your post about StokerCon, and then it was well, that sounds like fun. So, how was StokerCon?
StokerCon was awesome, and I went as a fan and for doing research, because I would love to do more like gateway horror stuff. I would love to do horror for kids, and an internet friend of mine, Laura Senf, who wrote the Clackety and its sequel, The Night House. They just won a Stoker Award that Saturday for their book, The Night House. So exciting.
Awesome.
And yeah, this Bram Stoker Awards, essentially they grow out of the Horror Writers Association. And so it's an opportunity for that community to celebrate the work that's done every year. And I've started to get to know folks in that community a little bit, because I am a big horror geek and a horror fan. And but it is something that I would like to do. So I wanted to get a sense of what that was like, and I had just such a great time. It was small enough that it had like a Gallifrey 1 adjacent vibe to it, so I didn't feel too displaced. And they had a dealer's room where I actually got to talk to some folks who were doing like self-pub or indie stuff, and there's a great range of material there too. And I think that old adage is true, that the horror community are like, they're all sweethearts, like, because they put it all on the page,
right?
So everyone is super sweet and inclusive, and people are absolutely willing to talk. And it was awesome. It was awesome. I genuinely can't wait to go back. Got to go to some cool panels. A friend of mine, Philip Fracassi, who's an amazing writer, he was on a couple panels, so I got to come and harass him. But yeah, it was killer, Kathleen. I super dug it.
That's awesome. So then
I have to get him to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna have to get you into Monroe. That'll be fun.
Yeah, Monroe Comic Con.
Oh my gosh! Yes, please.
Yeah. We know the guy. So for the
last
few years,
man, I would love to.
Yeah, for the last few years, we've helped the showrunner do all the interviews and promotion for the guests coming in. We've run his panel room for the last few years.
Oh, that's so cool, you guys.
So yeah, and we've thrown some names at him a couple times, and a couple of them have worked. A couple of them, they haven't been able to work out because of schedules and whatnot. But
Sure.
I'll pass your information along to him. I think he'd be a great fit.
Oh man, I would love it.
Yeah, especially because of your work with Phineas and Ferb, Hamster and Gretel, all that type of stuff would so tie in with it, because it is a very family friendly event. But they have a lot of horror stuff there too.
Oh man, amazing.
Yeah, like
Power Rangers too.
Yeah, Power Rangers, horror, animation. Last year they had a couple of the guys who played Michael Myers.
Oh,
there.
that's so rad.
Yeah, and they a couple different horror actresses. Yeah, who were doing some stuff that was right. It was right. It was still during the strike, so they were
Oh
promoting the
yes,
stuff. They were promoting the stuff that was strike allowed. I can't remember what the term is
yeah,
for it.
yeah. There's a
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes,
so they had a
yes.
couple movies that were strike allowed, and then so they were promoting those, more indie
Is
style movies.
is James O'Barr going
So
to be there again too? I don't remember if
yeah,
he's.
James O'Barr is going to be there
Oh
again this year
man,
for
that's
the Crow.
awesome.
So yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of really cool guys there. A lot of comic book artists and creators and stuff like that. So it's a really cool little show.
Oh man,
Um,
I would love to chat about that. Yeah, definitely.
all right, I'll I'll make a note about that.
So then,
Cool.
with talking about cons, do you have any cons coming up that you're going to be signing at? That you're going as the celebrity?
Zero of those, Kathleen. But I'm I'm going to be definitely at con as a fan because I San Diego Comic Con. I absolutely love that show, and I'm going to see if I can get a booth for next year.
Oh,
And
nice.
then I don't think I'll be doing any signing, but it's possible. Max and I and amazing illustrator Jay Cooper, who draws Last Comics on Earth, we were talking about trying to get a group of us out either to do San Diego or to do New York, and we haven't been able to finagle it yet. But I remain hopeful. We've got book 3 coming out next spring,
Woo!
and book 4 the following year. So I've got my fingers crossed that we can figure something out
Yeah.
over the course of the next 2.5 years. Because yeah, Jay is like a force of nature, and we all really love getting the chance to put books in kids' hands, and like to talk comics because we're all kind of 10 years old still. So like these are our people.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, so guys, it's Doctor Who time. Now this is kind of an important question time because Kathleen and Josh are very dedicated Doctor Who fans. If
Indeed.
you haven't noticed by the TARDIS behind Josh, it's kind of a big deal in both of their lives. And I'm bringing that up because right now there is literally a brand new episode of Doctor Who playing on Disney Plus, and instead of them watching that, they're both here for this interview. So this is kind of a big deal. So I have a
Folks at
two-part.
home, Kathleen wanted to make sure that I knew that she was making a big sacrifice by hanging out with us and not watching Doctor Who, and I had to remind her that, of course, then by extension, I am also making said sacrifice. So we are
Exactly.
all in the same sad TARDIS of non-watching Doctor Who right now.
Except for Tim, who doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
No, that's not true. I've actually started. Thank you very much. So
It was in Chudi's butt that got you, wasn't it?
no, I could care less about Shutigato's backside. You,
I'm
however,
sorry. The number of
are
memes
like-
that I've seen that people are calling him Booty Gatwa now, and I'm like,
Oh, I'm not sure that that's very nice, but he is a very handsome gentleman.
he is a handsome gentleman. He's a
Yes.
good-looking dude.
The
He's a
Beatles
good-looking
episode,
dude.
though, there is one shot where those pants, the costume designer, made sure that every single curve of that man's behind was visible.
Hey, I mean, let's
Yeah,
be
the costume
honest,
designer what he was working
Kathleen. It's every doctor has their special gifts,
with.
and I wouldn't want to begrudge Nshudi his. So
true.
I don't know.
That's right. There you go.
It's a gift
All right,
for all
so-
of us.
So speaking of the new Doctor,
Yes.
what do you think of the new season and the new Doctor? What's your personal take?
So it was a little slow to start for me. I'll be honest. I think the last 3 specials I thought were extraordinary. So, and we could talk about those for like 6 hours. But I think a little slow to start on the Christmas special for me. Love the characters. Love him. Fantastic. And
He seems
I think
natural.
yeah, absolutely. Actually, Tim, that's a great way of putting it. I also love that he has an energy that's a little bit 10 and a little bit 13.
Mhm.
Like, one of the things that I loved about Jodie was that she brought an enthusiasm, and there was like a childlike quality to her energy. And so seeing Ncuti do that for 15 is one of my favorite things. Like, he's a joyful character. And so I think, like, we've done Sad Doctor, we've done Morose Doctor, like, we've covered those bases time and again. We've done a great job on those and that nuance. And so seeing someone bopping around in the TARDIS around the universe who's having a great time, I'm so into it. And I thought the Devil's Cord, the Maestro, is a fantastic villain.
That was amazing.
And I have a theory that I would love to share. It's not super, like, deep, but essentially it's like, and I think RTD in his RTD2 era has established this very clearly. But just using the toy maker has changed the parameters of the universe of the show as we understand it. And I think he is, in the way these supernatural threats are coming in and out of the show, there's this wonderful reset that he's doing where he's pushing out the walls of how some of this works. And I know that already there's certainly some pushback, but I think that pulling the toy maker in, it's like, I mean, that's a first Doctor villain. Like, this is not news, right? So it's like there's also a couple other episodes with the second Doctor where we're abstract in, like, the Mind Robber. There's some weird stuff. Like, you know, there's episodes where Troughton is like, in the world of fiction, like, there is a precedent certainly for all of these things. But I love the idea of RTD coming back after being one of the most celebrated writers in all of English television. And he's got new things to say. He's got new toys to play with. And I think the Maestro was an absolutely brilliant creation. Amazing villain. Jinx was brilliant.
Jinx knocked it out of the park. That was...
And Kathleen, that opening moment on the piano, we got chills. Like, the whole family, we had to watch it again. Tim, how far in are you?
Second episode.
Okay, great. So, like, oh my gosh, amazing. And certainly having Moffat back is interesting. Lots of fun stuff in that. I don't want to get too spoiler heavy, but I think...
No, honestly, this is one series where I'm not really worried about spoilers because I have so much to catch up on. Great. So it's...
And none of it makes sense anyway. Even if you had spoilers, it's all in wibbly wobbly order. It's not like it's gonna...
It's all wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, and I don't understand any of it.
It's definitely wobbly, yeah. But I think overall, like, their dynamic is really wonderful, and I feel like where we're pushing, like, the stories are getting stronger, and they're starting to solidify what his vision for this thing is. Kathleen, what do you think?
I am absolutely loving it. Last week's episode with Dot and Bubble was...
extraordinary.
I hated it and I loved it all at the same time. Like, it was so well written, it was so well done, and I was so mad at it.
Yeah, 100%. It gets my vote for maybe one of the best episodes of all time. Yeah.
And I have never been more Team Slug in my life.
No, it's extraordinary. And there's elements about it even before the ending that are like, this is one of the best Doctor Who's ever. Like, there's things about what, you know, it's a Dr. Light episode, you know, where we have kind of new heroes. We have, you know, folks dealing with the monster problem with the Doctor on the sidelines, but, like, just brilliantly done. And again, if you just took that part out and you were like, this is what this is about. Oh my God. So clever. Right. Just so clever.
And it was so funny though, too, is like, even at the end of the episode, with that amazing moment with the Doctor as he's angry screaming that they won't let him save them. And I'm like, wait, everybody else is white. How am I just now noticing everybody else in the episode?
No, I know. It's extraordinary.
Like, it was so well done, though, that you didn't notice that until all of a sudden it's no, we have to walk away so we're not corrupted. I'm like, nope.
So much to unpack.
So mad now. But no, I've been loving this season. I love Davies and Moffat, and because, like, I got into Doctor Who with the Ninth Doctor, with Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah.
Eccleston's great, but David Tennant he still is my Doctor. I've got a Rose and David painting above my computer. Like,
right on.
That was my Doctor. That was the best for me. And so then having Davies come back, and I know that Davies likes hiding things. in plain sight,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't make sense until the end episode, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And then you have to go back and watch it all again.
Yeah.
And then you see what have you done?
Yeah. There's some definite breadcrumbs, and I'm convinced there are some red herring breadcrumbs where he's wanting us to look over here. And like there's that, I
love that.
At the end of Devil's Cord with always a twist at the end.
Yes.
And then it's Susan Twist, who is showing this actress is showing up in literally every single episode.
And then even in the Dot and Bubble episode, when the Doctor and Ruby are both like, "Oh, who's she? Oh, she was the ambulance face. And now I saw her there." And I'm like,
and they're starting to piece it together.
I'm like, wait, are you throwing us off, or are you actually letting us know that we're not losing our minds?
Yep.
But I don't trust you either way.
Or both,
right? Like I've been through enough with you guys that I don't trust you.
I cannot trust you. So this is what I think is kind of going on. So I think, based on what we've learned about the Doctor being an orphan, yes, and within the canon of the show, and Davies has gone on record, and 14 even acknowledged it. What Chibnall was playing with is still canon. It's still part of the story. And so the Doctor is not technically a Time Lord. They may have invented Time Lords and came from somewhere else. And, bequeathed the gift of regeneration to this other race. I think that the Doctor is potentially one of these pantheon creatures, like the Toymaker, like Maestro, and that he might be the Lord of Time. He might be not unlike Neil Gaiman's The Endless.
Yeah.
That he might occupy that spot. And my not as good theory is also that she is too. That Ruby is too. And Ruby's his sister. And that's why they're off gallivanting in the universe and having a great old time. They're family, and they're hanging out together. And that's why the themes of them both being orphans and like that being significant to the storytelling, the underpinnings of the season. But I'm like, I think we might be headed there.
That would be fantastic.
He's something else.
Yeah.
Chibnall came in and said he's something else, so he could be something else.
That would be cool.
Because there's a reason why he's not remembering who was talking to him when Ruby was abandoned at the church. There's a reason why he's not sharing whatever that is.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why time is stopping and the snow is coming. Whenever she's having those huge emotional, like, there's something in there, but it's messy right now. So we have all these. So what's lovely, I think, is that the episodes are working on their own, which is great. And there's all this weird stuff. There's the Susan Twist woman. What's happening with Millie? The Doctor's trying to figure out what's happening with Millie / Ruby. And then the Doctor, I think, has a story. I think this Russell's so brilliant, but I think what he's doing is he's making us look at Ruby. Look at Ruby, look at Ruby, look at Ruby. The snow, look at Ruby. So that we don't look at the Doctor. There's a moment in, what episode is it, where he's throwing up that analysis on the wall, the scan of Ruby, just like we used to do with 11th Doctor, when he was trying to figure out what was going on. He just starts rattling off the names of other Time Lords that we've never met. There's a moment where it's like, like the Corsair. He says, this person, this person, this person, this person. And like, we're going to meet this rogue character tonight who might be a time agent, who might be a Time Lord, who might be something else. But like, I keep thinking that these identity themes that are coming out, it's the Doctor, it's not Ruby. And he wants us to look at Ruby.
That makes
she's a red herring. She's a Ruby herring.
She is. Oh.
We'll see.
Ruby, red.
Yes.
There you go. I love the fact that I understand none of this, Literally none of them. But when you're hit a point that Kathleen's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Her eyes get real big. She's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So
and I would have responded faster if it hadn't been that I had to mute because the stupid neighbor dog.
Train.
Stupid train, stupid dogs.
All good, all good.
So, yeah, so I'm watching, as you're talking, I'm watching Kathleen to see what her response is, because I'm like, all this sounds good, and it really makes a lot of sense to somebody who's watched more Doctor Who than I have. And as we're getting to that part, I'm just watching her, and her eyes go, oh.
And then Tim is back in the room.
That's right. Now I'm back.
But
now I'm back in the room.
It's funny though, is I feel like Davies and Moffat are gonna completely spin us around and knock us on our butts, and that, like you said, there's a red herring. There's got to be.
There has to be.
And like they've already warned us there's a twist. So it's so what's the twist? Are we expecting the twist? Is the twist going to be what we actually think it is?
Yeah.
And I don't think it is, because there's a lot of people.
It'll be something else.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I've seen people online wondering if Susan Twist is actually River Song again. I'm like,
no, it's not that.
So.
And then there's also the neighbor woman who has seen a TARDIS before.
Yeah.
Come on. Tim, it's awesome, and it's so much fun. And I'm so happy that you are wading your way in.
You know what? One of the things I like David Tennant, and I watched a few of those episodes. Yeah. And it wasn't for lack of want that or lack of interest. It just other things happened. I kind of faded off. But one of the things I will say about this season, Ncuti Gatwa is electric. And
oh my God, that's a great word for it.
He has a 10 gigawatt smile. When that man smiles, you can't help but smile back at the TV, because it's just
so special. Yes.
Yeah, it's just
he's a light. Like he's a light. Yeah.
Yeah, and so watching him, I think he was a perfect casting from the outside looking in, and with this coming to Disney Plus and having him as the Doctor is a perfect way to get guys like me involved.
100%.
And so so I think it was a really good and really smart way to go about it. And
new eyeballs, new folks checking it out.
Absolutely.
There are things too that I'm looking at with the way that the Doctor is being portrayed now that I love. I absolutely love the way that Nchuti's doing this. But like you said, we've had the angry, we've had the sad, we've had the mopey Doctor, and now to have this like bouncy, happy Doctor. But then he's also been afraid of things.
Yeah, he has. Yes.
Fun. And I'm like, wait a minute.
He's very emotional Doctor.
Yeah.
Like it's interesting because I think there are definitely fans who wanted to put Jodie in the past as soon as possible. But I think the reality is there's a straight line between the bouncy, emotive qualities that Jodie brought through 14 being the vulnerable character at the end of his rope, into 15. Like there really is, there's a clarity of intent emotionally there, because 14 was not 10.
No,
he was decidedly not 10. Yeah, he did not have that energy. His interactions with Donna were beautiful, but they were emotional. It wasn't, the joy was different. It's a different sort of happiness. But he's like a supernova, this guy.
And I know that a lot of it too with 14 was the terror of, no, I'm going to kill her. She's going to die knowing that I'm here. And the guilt of I've ruined another person's life.
It's heavy. It's very heavy.
But so wonderfully portrayed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, brilliant. But yeah, I think the thing about it that I'm realizing is there's a gift in an unburdened Doctor. Mm-hmm. And the idea that we're getting it from the same writer-producer who gave us the most burdened Doctor is fascinating. Yeah. Like I'm just so like interested and excited about like where we're headed. Mm-hmm. It's so great. And they're filming the next season like right now. Which is so cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Definitely.
All right, so Josh, here's the second part to my two-part question.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so now, you wrote a Doctor Who audiobook in the past.
I did.
Yes, and it was received very well for Big Finish Audio, and very cool stuff. And I thought I saw somewhere in the recent that there were plans in place for another one from you. Is that
Yeah,
true?
secret sauce. So first I did Tides of the Moon, which is part 2 of Water Worlds
Right.
for the Sixth Doctor, which was amazing. Um, and actually, at this last Gallifrey before last, I got my script signed by Colin Baker, and
Oh, very cool.
which was amazing. And got photos and everything. I got to geek out. But in there, I got the chance to write another original Doctor Who for Big Finish, and it's a lot darker. It's a lot scarier. It will not be out for many years, actually,
Oh, okay.
because so the way this works is that Big Finish has these licensing agreements, and so they strategize according to those. So they're
Sure.
planning box sets many years into the future.
Oh, cool.
So this one won't be out for some time. I'm hopeful, knock on wood, there's a couple opportunities that might come soonish where I get to write my third, and in a very timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly fashion, my third Doctor Who might come out before my second.
Ooh.
So
That's
fingers
all right.
crossed about that. But it was a great experience. Very different experience than what I did for Tides of the Moon, but absolutely a place for me to flex my character muscles and
Nice.
spookiness.
Nice.
So what was exciting about it is this particular one, because I can't say a whole lot about it, but
Understood.
super scary and dark,
Ooh.
and a way for me to kind of flex those horror muscles,
Yeah.
in a like 60-minute space. But yeah, it was a total blast. Like, and when that comes out, I will come back and we'll talk about that one, because it's like there's some gnarly stuff in it. There's some gnarly stuff in it. Yeah, for sure.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it for sure.
But yeah, that was my way, Tim, of like teasing a little bit, like into the future, into the far future. But yeah, it's very funny how like writing for Doctor Who is very much like watching Doctor Who. Like there's a lot of time travel involved, and I don't think I realized it at the time. And writing for animation is like that as well, because you're making jokes that people aren't going to laugh at for until 18 months later. So certainly there's time travel there, but
Nice.
but yeah, and as I said before, like I would love to do that forever. I mean,
Sure.
my hope is that I get to write many more Doctor Who episodes for a Big Finish. That would be my dream.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It cracks me up too, thinking about you're writing jokes 18 months later, and yet the number of times that animation jokes are so relevant to when they come out, and I'm like, this wasn't even a thing 18 months ago.
How did they do that?
No,
Ta-da.
sorcery.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like it's you try to do a character thing, and then that has a tendency to be more timeless. But there's definitely times where there's things kind of in the ether, and they kind of permeate, and then they'll land when something comes out.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're able to kind of grab that out of the air, but not often.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be fun when it lands. Oh my gosh.
People will joke about The Simpsons telling the future.
Oh my gosh, how insane is that, right?
The number of times that it's actually true.
Actually true, yeah.
Screw
Amazing.
Nostradamus. Just watch The Simpsons. You'll
Just
figure
watch
out
The
more
Simpsons. Yeah.
So, Josh, you've talked about your love of horror, and you're wanting to get into gateway horror, which is fantastic, because I wanted to talk about that.
Oh,
because
fab.
I'm not like a huge horror fan. I would say that I'm a casual horror fan.
Yeah.
And my kid's a little too young to get into horror, because I don't need to deal with a 5.5-year-old with nightmares. But my husband's not really a horror fan either. So I am wondering, with your extensive knowledge, where do I get them started? How do I get them to enjoy horror with me?
Ooh, that is such a good question. And I've given this a lot of thought. because I'm in the midst of my own experiment with my own children's, where I am cultivating and curating that path, because I'm remembering what I watched and what was too much and what was just right. And so, for instance, Tremors was early, because Tremors had a lovely balance of definitely some monsters and definitely some stakes and people getting eaten, but limited blood and a lot of fun and in daylight.
Yeah.
So Goonies was part of that conversation, because sloth can be kind of scary. We've gone into Gremlins, and Jaws is also on that list, because Jaws is largely takes place in the daytime. If you watch it together, we watched it in the daytime first, and then could talk special effects. So part of the curating has been a little bit behind the scenes. So being able to share, hey, this is the magic trick. Hey, and this is fake, and this is something that somebody built. And look at the wires. Oh, look, if you look careful, you can see that. So some, peeling back or pulling back the curtain. But that's like where we've been going and steering, is things that have, because my thought is big dumb rubber monsters are great in general, but they also are great entry level. And then you can get into the creepier stuff, because there's stuff where I'm just like, oh, I don't want to unnerve them yet.
Right.
I want them to have a good time.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think there's so many different kinds of horror, and I like a lot of it. I like the majority of it. But I think it's curating that experience and being like, well, let's start with big dumb rubber monsters. Let's have a good time. And then we can get into the creepier stuff. So Night of the Living Dead, because it's largely bloodless and it's black and white. So that gave us a little bit of distance. So that was really helpful. And then we did the first Alien in this new release with my 15-year-old. Because there was a scene where I could prep them a little bit, but then the rest of it's a ride, right?
Right.
It's a roller coaster ride. So, that's kind of where we're at on that journey.
Awesome. I look forward to that journey.
Monsters first. Yeah, monsters
I look forward
first.
to that journey, because we're still at the Jurassic Park is too scary.
Great. Okay, great. So live there. Yeah, like because that's one of the best gateway horrors.
I love Jurassic
because once you get to a place where that's okay, and how much fun that is, but that's a horror movie for kids. I mean, literally,
I have never thought of Jurassic Park as a horror movie for kids.
Yeah, it super is.
That's because
but it makes a ton of sense. It really does.
Yeah.
Especially, I'm thinking of it through the eyes of Kathleen's daughter, 5.5 years old. Here's a giant T-Rex or something else tearing people apart. And all
very scary.
Yeah, that'd be very scary. I never even once.
There's a cold open. The Samuel Jackson's arm getting severed. I mean, it's.
It's funny though, as we've watched it with her. She's watched bits and pieces of it, and the goat doesn't scare her. The lawyer on the foot doesn't scare her. The kids in the kitchen scene freaks her out. She cannot do it. I'm like, that I guess.
She can relate to the kids. That's why.
If the adults are scared and the adults are getting torn apart, she doesn't care.
She's all, But also, Kathleen, what it sounds like to me, I mean, you're there, your mom, I'm not there. But suspense, too, is different. So the suspense in that sequence is it's like a well-timed orchestra.
Yeah.
That's beautifully put together, and it's really intense. It's very, very intense. So that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me that's her reaction.
Yeah. And it's funny to me is we watched it. I mean, she was little. She was 4 the first time we tried it, 4.5. Because it was let's see what happens. She's not going to make it that far. The goat didn't even flinch, didn't care. I'm like, okay, this is a little terrifying. You might be a psychopath. We got a little further into it, and she's like, yeah, nope, we're done. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
My little sister, when she was that age, there was a time where she was watching Batman every day, the Michael Keaton one. on VHS, and then suddenly decided it was scary. So like had been watching it, I don't know, 20 times, and then all of a sudden it was like, nope, now it's too much. Same thing with Jurassic, where it was like it was totally fine and permissible, and then at some point it's like, I think it's what we're talking about. They connected.
Yeah.
Like my sister connected and went, oh no, this is scary.
You get that difference in the brain development, and
there you go.
You see
and
things
some
differently.
Self-awareness. See things differently. Yeah.
Different age, different point of view.
You got it.
Yeah.
But Big Dumb Rubber Monster. Let me know how that works.
I will, definitely.
Let's get silly with it.
I am a big fan of Big Dumb Rubber Monsters. So.
Heck yeah.
Which explains the people she hangs out with.
You?
I think we look like we have giant rubber heads, probably, Tim.
Exactly. Yeah. I was putting that mostly up for me and her husband, John. She chooses to associate with us, and that says a lot. But anyway.
Really does.
Quite. Yeah, because I was kind of thinking based off her question, the same thing, when it comes to like, because it sounds to me like you're recommending more something that's more of a thriller than a slasher, something that, know.
I mean, and Halloween is still one of the best, and it's largely bloodless, and people tend to forget that, and so certainly that's on the list because it's it's just creepy. Like when it comes to the violence, it's like the first Halloween is very minimal, even by its own standards. Like it's really just about the suspense, which again, some people respond more strongly to the suspense than they respond to gore, right? So some people are just like, hey, that's fake. And then other people are like, oh, it's getting under my skin. I don't like it.
See, I haven't gone into the horror genre very much just because in my mind, I think probably, and this is probably a false equation, and so I'll go ahead and label it as that. The false equation that every movie is Friday the 13th. Because
yes.
Yeah, but growing up, that was that and Nightmare on Elm Street were the two like biggest.
Oh my gosh, superstars!
Those are the superstar horror movies. And
the Johnny Depp blender bed scene is so much fun.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I was kind of steered away from those, but I veered more into I like things that had more suspense and made my mind work a little bit more and would catch me off guard. Those little jump scenes, where you
Quiet Place.
Yeah, Quiet Place. That's
where you should go with your horror movie watching, Tim. Is Quiet Place.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Yeah, I have not watched that.
It's good because it's got a nice balance and it's not, and you're gonna get invested, and it's got a good story.
There's not a lot of gore.
No. It's very minimal. And in fact, they keep a lot of it off screen on purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, I can live with that.
Yeah.
I can think of like one bloody scene.
Yeah. There's some good stuff. Yeah.
All right. So moving away from the horror stuff, we're gonna ask you another question here. Yeah. So now you've had your opportunity to dip your toes in the worlds of Mystery Science Theater. You've done some work for Predator, Doctor Who, obviously Phineas and Ferb, Milo Murphy's Law, Hamster and Gretel. Let's get that right. And a few others. So what's the next nerdiverse that you want to dip your toes into? What's the one thing that you're looking out there going, I really want to have my name on that byline?
Ooh. I really want to do Alien. So that's like really high on the list.
Okay.
And I have some ideas for that. I would also love to do Predator again, but I would love to do novels in that space. Okay. I mean, I'd be happy to do shorts, but like doing that classic movie monster, doing Alien would be like a dream. Like, because AVP, the comic book, was gateway horror for me because I was too scared to watch the movies. So there's this amazing series from Dark Horse that came out in like 92, something like that. And it's like, it's got a great story and the artwork is amazing. But that broke my brain. So like doing an Alien story, that's got some humor in it and some horror, I feel like I'm that guy. Okay. So that's like front and center, I would say, to be honest. That is in my sights.
Nice.
I wanna make that happen, man.
I would love for it to happen for you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
So then, looking at what you want to write, and you said you want to write novels in the Alien universe, which would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
you've done both scripts and books. Do you prefer one or the other?
It's a great question. I was actually just thinking about this because they require different sorts of brain energy and concentration.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've discovered I really love is bouncing back and forth because they need me in different ways. So structure and timing are so much more important because in the scripting, because it's more like a blueprint for somebody else. And then on the novel writing side, like I get to be more immersive and indulgent, and like I also get to be in charge. So that's the other beauty part. So it's like the screenwriting piece of it is like it's a tee up for collaboration. And so like I love being able to, control the dialogue and a certain amount of the timing and the pacing, but that's not going to be up to me later.
Right.
Someone else is going to take that and run with it. But I love thinking in pictures. So I love thinking about like, oh, I'm writing a movie, I'm writing a TV show. So I need to be able to see it. I need to think about what this looks like visually. And then, books are really about internal life. So it's that inner monologue and what people are thinking and feeling. So like that, I think that's why I enjoy so much bouncing back and forth, because I get to use different muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's definitely days where I'm like, I don't want to get inside someone's head. I just want to see
Right.
cool stuff. I just want to make this character be outrageous and do stupid things, and like that's a joyful
Nice.
experience.
Give you
Um,
a chance to itch both sides, scratch
Yeah.
the itch on
yeah,
each side.
it really does. Yeah, because I do think they're separate animals and comics too. Like the thing about writing these graphic novels with Max, and it's a collaboration with Jay and Doug, and we're kind of teeing them up, and they're gonna take that ball and they're gonna run with it. And it's like the work that Jay's done in Less Comics is like extraordinary. He adds so much to what that experience is. But part of our job is to think in a limited amount of images. If we give him too many actions per panel, we're not doing our job. And so when we're working page to page in a comic script, doing more than 5 panels on a page, there's got to be a really good reason why we're doing it, because otherwise Jay's not going to have a whole lot of room to draw. So that's also a fun thing, is comics being like an in between almost. So that's I love doing that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
Yeah, because um, because just even looking at from the outside looking in, for me, I when I think about writing, I think about writing a book. That seems to me like it's more of a description of
yes,
something moving forward, whereas
yes,
a script I think of that's an interaction between you
very
know
much.
a conversation and interaction.
Yeah, and
So
in the books, like
yeah,
you're really painting with words. You're really painting
yep,
pictures with words.
yep.
Yeah.
All right, very cool. All right, one last final question for you, Josh.
Okay.
So this is what we call our silly question. We started asking this because people were asking Kathleen's daughter this question, but weren't asking her, and she got offended. So here it is. Joshua Pruett, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Ooh, trike, Triceratops every time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Every time, because like I think for a while it was a T-Rex, and
Triple
then
Rhino.
I think I saw them fighting, and I was like, wait. I was like, the trike is the good guy. Like whatever, my little brain just put the math together, and like so I think that it's the first dinosaur I got at the Natural History Museum, and they
Nice.
seem like the fighter. They seem like they're like the dependable guy or gal. Like, oh, I love them. Yeah. Okay, so then what's your guys's?
Mine's the Parasaurolophus, the one that does the trumpet head.
Oh, fantastic.
They're fantastic. They're so cool.
Triceratops.
Yay, trike.
Yep. That's why I call it the triple rhino,
Triking.
because I've always liked rhinos, and that was just the natural crossover for me.
Love it.
So
I
it's a triple
love
rhino.
it. I love it. I love
See,
it.
but that is like one of those questions that 5-year-olds get asked, and then I'm like, but guys, I'm right here. Why did nobody ask me?
Talk to me about dinosaurs,
I
guys.
like
Dang it.
dinosaurs too. Yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Especially because I had to like rekindle my love for dinosaurs when my daughter was going through her big dino phase.
Yeah, it's
so then
important.
I knew all the dinosaurs, and then the little kids are just asking her, and I'm like, guys,
I want in on this chat. Yeah,
rude.
Exactly. Yeah, rude.
Oh. Well, Josh, we have enjoyed having you on our show for the third time.
Yay! Thank you, guys.
Glutton for punishment, man.
Heck yeah.
So where can our viewers and our listeners go to find out more about you, what you've got coming? Because you've got stuff coming, dude. Like, there's
at Zombie TARDIS, one word, is on the formerly known as Twitter and on Instagram. And I like to share lots of behind the scenes stuff. There's going to be more behind the scenes over the next year from me, both from my personal work and creative work and
Nice.
the published stuff. And I think certainly for people who are interested in what we're cooking up on Phineas and Ferb, definitely hit up Dan's TikTok, because we've been getting to share a little bit of stuff through there, which is awesome. Dan was given permission, so definitely keep your eye on that.
Excellent.
Phineas fans. And there'll be I've got a book coming out next summer, June of next year, called Euro and the Argonauts, which is like the Hitchhiker's Guide to Greek Mythology. That's from Andrews McMeel Publishing.
Awesome.
And it's about the first Greek geek in history who discovers that the Argonauts, the heroes that he loves so much, are not the heroes that he has been led to believe. And the monsters are actually the real heroes.
Fun.
That sounds really cool.
And so it's a heck of a journey, a lot of big fun. Middle grade. I'm in revisions on it right now. But yeah, what we're looking at next spring is we've got Last Comics number 3 will be out. Jay's drawing right now. And Euro and the Argonauts will be out right after that.
Very, very cool.
And there might be some other surprises next spring as well. So stay tuned.
So excited.
Just in time for round 4. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Let's come back next year. Round 4.
Exactly. Well, very cool. Well, guys, want to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to help us get amazing guests like Josh Pruett to come back for 3 times and possibly even a 4th time if I can get my finger number things to work. But anyway, there's going to be great moments for you guys to be able to listen to and great things for you to pick up on. And go check him out on Instagram and Twitter, both at Zombie TARDIS, one word, and you'll be able to find him out there. He's got a lot of stuff coming. And so subscribe here, follow him over there at those places, and you will not be disappointed. And on that note, Josh, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
And guys, goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks, everybody.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.